When the world feels overwhelming, I turn to nature for some much-needed perspective. Thriving in the face of adversity, that's something the incredible species of our world do every day. Wow, right in front of us. I'm Chris Morgan. Join me on The Wild as we explore stories of hope and resilience in nature and what they can teach us about ourselves and each other. Listen to The Wild wherever you get your podcasts.
At 8,400 feet on what remains of Mount Hood's Palmer Glacier, we are eating watermelon and giggling. It's a Sunday in September, and we've gotten above the wildfire smoke that's drifting in from many fires. My son, who's 8, sits on a piece of volcanic rock, watching the ski lift, which has just started up. My 13-year-old daughter perches on her own rock. Our packs are sprawled around us. We're done with ski carrying up through the loose volcanic choss, up the dirty snow, and now it's celebratory snack time. We watch as a fellow skier hoots their way down off the top. The snow is spectacular for September. As we click in and talk through which line will maximize the skiing, the stoke is high. While we could have bought lift tickets in a different season, we hiked a little over 2,000 feet up to get here, skis A-framed the whole way. Except for a few spots that require booting and a 20-minute walk at the bottom, we'll ski most of that. For the kids, it will be their longest descent of earned turns. Yesterday, I packed up the van with meals and snacks and gear and drove south from outside Seattle to a pullout on a Forest Service road near Government Camp. The smoky sunset was incredible. The mossy forest, a perfect spot to hang out over dinner. Then there were the sweet turns on silty September corn that made us all forget the chossy slog up. On the way home, the kids pick where to go to eat, and it's breakfast at Jack in the Box. I finish my breakfast sandwich and head north on I-5, happily exhausted, thinking back to the kids whipping it up as we flew down the snow. We relish these weekends of elevation and snacks and skiing. We've built schedules, budgets, plans, and a van around them. Stoke brought us here, but that's not how we started. We all dealt with the pandemic in our own way. I'd already been making sourdough a long time. So instead, I got divorced and finished my master's in energy and climate policy. As I made my way through the program, I remember wondering if it was normal to cry in front of your computer in grad school. Probably. But in my case, the tears came from the irrefutable evidence that snow would one day be gone. That the alpine places I loved so much, where I had grown up on the hiking trails and ski slopes of the Cascades, would be changed irrevocably. As it warms, the high alpine ecosystem can't move farther up. All those gnarled ancient trees, the rocks worn down by seasonal melt, the tiny brilliant flowers clinging to the barest patch of earth, they'll be gone, lost to the warming temperatures that we've caused. It is hard to grapple with this loss, and harder still knowing the immense scale of many other kinds of loss that have happened and will happen for everyone that calls this planet home. As I struggled through thesis migraines in a haze of renewables, climate adaptation, I still found the wilderness to be the best medicine. As I worked to make a small dent in the crisis we're facing, the paths I walked and skied in the backcountry gave me the energy to keep going. With my newfound freedom, divorced and graduated, I set out to ski in every month, a pursuit known as turns all year. I started in December, when life is good and turns can usually be found somewhere nearby. Maybe even decent ones if the maritime snowpack shakes out right. As the season passed and summer came, I had to walk further, had to A-frame my skis, long distances. I made it 1 year, then 2 years. My kids were fascinated by this strange new thing Mama was doing. The neighbors thought I was nuts, loading my skis into the roof box in July. No matter, I thought. I combined it with climbing for what I like to call trad ski. I took skis to places I had schlepped up steep snow, with trad gear to climb routes before, and relished the turns down after. I drank up the incredible meadow views of the Spider Glacier, Tahoma views on Pinnacle Glacier, and of course, the dwindling Chair Peak snowpatch. I skied Vesper Peak with my fellow badass ski-mo mom friend a week too late, having to traverse Choss in our ski boots, approach shoes left at the base. We did the sketchy stream crossing with our breaths held. We chose a spicier line up to Headley Pass to avoid the intro to crampons happening up the main line. Looking out from the top at some of my favorite peaks, I laughed and ate snacks. The sweet corn turns back down were hard to beat. In May of the second year, my son said he wanted to go with me. I sort of laughed, thinking there was no way a 6-year-old would want to hike with skis all through the summer. Where would we even go? He wasn't going to want to get to the Flet Glacier in July, no matter how many huckleberries I plied him with. Would he even want to carry an A-frame? My daughter, who was 11, chimed in that she wanted to do it too. Okay, I said, but I don't know if we'll be able to keep it going. We started small, hiking to a snow patch at Alpental, our local ski hill. They loved it. They wanted to go again the next month, as long as we stopped at Pie for the People on the way home, of course. I started thinking of other places they could go. We skied off-season turns at Stevens Pass, where I grew up learning on and off-piste. We hiked past marmots with fellow ski kid friends at sunrise. We plowed through Mank at Chinook Pass, and we admired tiny wildflowers at Artist Point. The months ticked by, and I kept finding places. In November, I was doing the classic TA wire thing of waiting till month's end in the hopes of fresh snow, when my daughter broke her toe playing football at a sleepover. The thing that upset her the most wasn't the boots she had to wear for 6 weeks, or the pain, but that she had lost her streak. She had been so close to the 1-year mark since we'd started our ski season in December. The next weekend, my son and I skinned up to the top of Hogsback at Stevens Pass as snow fell softly all around us. When I pulled out lunch, I presented him with a custom trophy with his name on it, and turns all year, 1 year. He was aghast.
Where did you get this? Is it made of real gold?
I resolved to make more custom trophies. I'm not certain, but he may have been the first 7-year-old to hit a year. In any case, it didn't matter. We were doing it to be there, skiing. As we skied down, he said,
I like turns all year, but I think I'll take a break now.
I said okay, and figured this experiment was over. But now my daughter was determined. We skied all winter, with them demanding another day of skiing, as I drove home exhausted on Saturday night. The kitchen chairs were always hung with drying ski gear. I constantly shoveled skis, boots, poles, helmets, snacks, back and forth. But the stoke was high, the snow was sometimes good, and on we went. Through all the highs and heartbreak of post-pandemic dating, through more than one vehicle, broken toes and sick kid days, through forecasts of all kinds, with friends and loved ones, skiing has been there. It's been exhausting and wonderful. In a predominantly male sport, I've been the only single mom coaxing my A-frame kids up the mountains with snacks. I've often wished I had a partner that was there for it too. It would have made it much easier to have a second set of hands. And better yet, someone to share all these incredible memories we made. Maybe I'll run into that person on a trail somewhere. But these years have shown it's not a necessity. Like many women of this generation, I'm living things our grandmothers only dreamt of. While mine were home tending to their many children, I'm taking mine with me to the mountains on wild adventures that would probably make my grandmothers raise their eyebrows a bit. Our adventures and misadventures have brought us exceedingly close. All these hours on trails are the most precious resource. They've given us so much time to talk about what happened at school that week, about evaluating risk in the mountains, the warming planet, native plants, what we'll forage next, our colonizer ancestors, and the enormous debt of unearned privilege. We've been soaked and miserable, sunburnt and dusty, hungry for snacks, dreaming of that cheeseburger beyond the trailhead. As a lady getting after traditionally male-centric outdoor pursuits, it's been a mixed bag of reactions in the Alpine, let alone doing it as a backcountry ski mom. There's the summit dude who casually remarks he'd better get going before these girls snake his line as I contemplate a descent with a fellow lady shredder. There's the apparently well-meaning commentary that is really just bald-faced Alpine mansplaining. And then men who deal with their feelings about women in the mountains in even less evolved ways, condescending in order to shore up their egos, telling me I'm not an expert because I don't drop cliffs. Mixed in with the misogyny I've experienced, there's been a fair amount of support. Most often, the people we pass going up in the summer ask where we're skiing or why, or comment on how cool my kids are to be doing this. In October, the worst month by far for approach length, a lady said to my kids, "You guys have a pretty cool mom." I felt a bit vindicated, as on that day, I was also a pretty tired mom. Worn out from all the snack packing, cheerleading, and gear adjustments I'd done with no acknowledgement. Usually the kids get the accolades for hiking so far. But honestly, the encouragement they've gotten has kept them going up the trail more than once. In any case, we watched clouds swirling in front of the Nisqually Glacier and an enormous waterfall blown sideways by the wind. The fall colors lit up the high Alpine, and the Tatoosh beckoned, as always. This November, my daughter made it 2 years, and my son hit 3 years. I'm now at 5 years. We celebrated with trophies and skier-mi-sue, Alpine tiramisu eaten halfway down the run. Many times, I've been too tired, or fed up with the gear hauling, or wanted to mountain bike or climb instead. But these years and these turns are precious. The temps and climate and the time together are precious. As we were driving home from the mountain one day, my daughter commented that she was glad we did this stuff instead of being home on screens all the time. I was glad to hear that coming from a 13-year-old, and I asked, why? She ate another handful of popcorn, adjusted her beloved Pit Vipers, and said,
"Why not? Why look at a screen when I can hike miles to ski a dirty little patch of snow? Think of all the cool places we've gone."
When I look back at all those wild places I've skied, places that most ski friends think I'm nuts to carry skis to, I can't help but smile. I've used these years to be with the fading snow in the places that I love. I've watched the melt-off give way to masses of tiny, brilliant wildflowers. The berries ripen to sweet perfection. The clouds wash over ridgelines. And my son and daughter have seen all this too. Some days, I'm not sure I have the energy to pull it all together and get us up there. Burnout is an old friend with which I am well acquainted. But I've seen the imprint these adventures have left on us all, and the memories that will stay with us always. I'd sure as hell rather be out, spending these short years with my kids hiking to dirty little sun-cup patches of snow. So I start checking forecasts and planning what snacks to pack for our next turns. My name is Sarah Holzknecht, and this is my short.
After the break, we get a peek behind the curtain of van life. Even though it's dark before I get home from work, even though it's getting colder and rainier and crappier, I still love getting out on the trails just to clear my mind. Oboz set up camp in the legendary hiking and backpacking hub of Bozeman, Montana, and you know what? It gets really cold there, so they know a thing about how to hike and move in the cold, and they know insulated footwear. Oboz has several new styles built for snowy days and winter hiking, so you can get out and enjoy the most soulful time of year, the time when there's fewer people, it's a little bit quieter, and the light is amazing. Now through December 1st, you can get 25% off any style. That's 25% off any style when you use the code CYBER at checkout at obozfootwear.com. Oboz, love hiking.
Deception Pass State Park is one of my favorite places to visit at this time of year. Like we do it, I think, almost every year. I'm not alone in that. It is one of the most popular parks in Washington State. The trail running is perfect. There are Doug firs. There's views of the Salish Sea. And we even watched a partial eclipse there. It was pretty sweet. The kids love hiking along the beach. It's all just very Pacific Northwest. The Washington Discover Pass is your key to accessing Washington State's parks like Deception Pass, recreation sites, natural areas, and more. When you purchase a Discover Pass, you aren't just buying a parking pass, you're helping care for public lands. You're directly supporting conservation and recreation opportunities. You're keeping bathrooms open and trails maintained. You're caring for forests and protecting seashores. Our state lands belong to all of us, and the Discover Pass helps us protect and enjoy them together. So get your Discover Pass at discoverpass.wa.gov.
Since 2008, Kuat has made industry-changing products manufactured with the utmost care to ensure quality, style, and longevity. Their new Piston Ion Rack is no exception. Built tough and ready for adventure, the rack has Kuat's signature style without compromising on function. The rack is purpose-built for today's e-bikes, carrying up to 2 100-pound e-bikes with no frame contact, and an adjustable tire chock system so you can carry your bikes with a range of tire sizes. It even comes with a lightweight bike ramp for hassle-free loading, which is pretty sweet. Check out the Piston Ion Rack at Kuat.com or a dealer near you. Kuat, because you love your bike. So it's that time in year in Seattle where it is dark and crappy out and raining, and that means it's time for me to run. But long runs kind of take it out of me, and figuring out my nutrition afterwards is kind of a trick so that I don't bonk at work. Kachava's whole body meal shakes keep your body and mind nourished all day. With 2 scoops of Kachava, you get 85 plus superfoods, nutrients, and plant-based ingredients. So if I take a run at lunch, I come back, I have a shake, I'm not only getting 25 grams of plant-based protein, I'm also getting adaptogens and super greens at the same time. I've been blending the chocolate with water and a bit of oat milk for a delicious post-workout drink. I also love the strawberry. With 6 flavors to choose from, find your favorite Kachava. Shop now through December 2nd to get 30% off your first purchase of 2 or more bags. Go to Kachava.com and use the code DIARIES. Valid for new customers. That's 30% off your first order for a limited time at KACHAVA.com. Code DIARIES. You'll thank yourself.
The Diaries is made possible by Diaries Plus members. And guess what? That could be you. That's right. If you're enjoying our regular episodes, the shorts, interviews, our And Then What series on public lands, or a mix of it all, please consider becoming a Diaries Plus member. It's ad-free listening, but maybe more importantly, it's about knowing that you've stepped up to support something you believe is worthwhile, and the delight of something you want to see in your feed, something you believe needs to be there, because that's how Diaries Plus members feel. Come power the show. The link is in the show notes. Thank you.
I pulled back the corner of the tinfoil bubble wrap insulation we stuffed against the inside of our van's windows at night. It was dark out there, impenetrably dark. My partner Nick and I were spending the night in a public park in Bellingham, Washington. Camping there was probably illegal, but it also seemed like a place that no one was likely to bother us. Even though we'd lived in our van for almost a year, I still got nervous when we camped places illegally, which was most of the time. It wasn't because we often got in trouble. We had only ever been woken up and asked to move once, and it was by a fairly friendly car dealership security guard who just asked us to move over 25 feet. It's just that moving around all the time, I had a hard time turning off the worried, anxious part of my brain. I grunted open the stubborn and always a little broken sliding door of the van and hopped down into the rain. I was on a mission to take a shower, and I needed the shower curtain and extra tote bin we kept in the back. Headlamp on, I swept my light beam around the parking lot, but saw no one around. Just wet conifers with drippy shadows under their big boughs, lining a gray, dreary lot. I knocked on the back window for Nick to unlock the door from the inside and swung it open with a creak, revealing basically all of our belongings. Stacks of large totes with yellow lids organized by sport with an extra for Costco-sized foods that didn't fit up front. Our skis bungeed upside down under the bed. The batteries that gave us power, and the propane tank that fueled our stove. It was all there. I dragged out our bin of rock climbing gear, heaved it down onto the wet pavement with a thud, and lifted it out of the identical plastic tote it was nested in. Showering in the van was a new operation. Usually we would take a pour-over shower outside if we had the privacy and it was warmer, or buy a truck stop shower somewhere. But camping in a city in the winter made an indoor shower seem like something we should try out. I braced my legs to lift the climbing tote back up into the storage space and dragged out the tote next to it, but didn't see the plastic sheath of the curtain after rooting around. Frustrated, I yelled over the high bed to where Nick sat coding on his laptop in the front of the van. "Did you put the shower curtain somewhere?" I asked him accusingly. He didn't answer right away, always slow to respond when deep in a project. "No, I haven't seen it," he responded amicably after a 10-second silence. His ability to completely ignore me being in a bad mood made me feel even grumpier. I shoved the totes back into place, except for the empty one, and slammed the back door shut. I walked back around to the sliding door, ducked my head inside, awkwardly slipped out of my Crocs on the step, and closed the door behind me, immediately faced with a complete lack of adequate space to put the tote. I balanced it on our small 2x2 foot table and then moved it to our bed before remembering that the bottom was wet from the parking lot. Lifting it back up, I saw I'd gotten muddy water on our duvet. My chest tightened and I wanted to cry. Why wasn't I happy? It was January 2021, and Nick and I had been living in our van for almost a year, with a 3-month break in the middle to stay with our parents during the first few months of COVID. We had lived our dream of backcountry skiing across British Columbia last winter, while I worked my dream job of chefing at ski lodges around the province. We had spent the whole fall climbing across the American West, and other than intermittent tutoring jobs Nick did online for a little cash, and me selling my art on Instagram, which I could do entirely at my own pace, we had basically no responsibilities. We had driven so many new roads, visited friends, seen so many beautiful places. Shouldn't all that freedom and adventure make me feel amazing? But instead of free and adventurous, I felt small and ashamed. I was standing in a metal box that I actually couldn't even stand up straight in a dark, rainy parking lot, in a town where I didn't know anyone, and my life felt totally purposeless. Van life on the internet looks like perfect camping spots, sunny days, and stylishly draped van plants intertwined with twinkle lights on the interior of gleamingly clean, somehow spacious vehicles. I, for one, would like to know where they put all their shit. Nick and I often joked about how unglamorous van life really was. We peed in the same smelly plastic Costco nut containers every day, which also lived aesthetically on our doorstep. We took few showers, had no personal space. It often felt like our life was nothing but making decisions about what to do next. And after a year, I felt exhausted and overwhelmed. Questions like, do we need water yet? Where will we get water? Where should we camp? Is this parking lot sketchy? Where should we drive tomorrow? Where am I going to take a poop at 10 o'clock at night? And this daily list of logistical questions could easily spiral into, is this really all there is? I'm so privileged to be doing this, so why aren't I more happy? Am I doing it wrong if we took a rest day today? Do people see me and think, why isn't she better at climbing if she lives in a van? We had driven to Bellingham from Northern California to try and catch a 5-foot powder dump a week or so ago. The skiing had been great for a fleeting 2 days, but then it had rained 4 inches on top of it all and frozen to a bulletproof, rain-runneled ice crust. If I actually lived in Bellingham, I could go to work, hang out with friends, do any manner of normal life things. But living in a van made it feel like skiing was the only thing I did. And so if I wasn't doing it, I felt bad. It felt like I should always be doing the raddest thing, and if I wasn't, then I was a failure. In hindsight, this period of time solidified something in me that had been brewing for a while. I could no longer separate how I saw myself from how I saw myself as a skier and climber. The two things I enjoyed the most were becoming basically my entire identity, and it wasn't working. So that's maybe why the small frustrations of trying to take a shower inside a vehicle made me want to burst into tears. I scrunched up my face and threw open our bench that doubles as a gear chest in the living space of the van. I shoved aside ski boots, toilet paper, Nick's tool bag, angrily looking for the shower curtain. Crying over a shower? Ugh. I slammed the chest shut and sat back against the kitchen cabinets. Nick put his computer down on the table and looked at me with his big, I'm worried about you, eyes. I started to cry. I can't find the goddamn shower curtain anywhere, I choked out. I scooted over so he could help me look. He quickly found the neatly folded beige piece of plastic wedged against the back of the chest, where I had overlooked it in my stomping frustration. We took the tote bin off the bed, wiped off the bottom with paper towels, and wedged it between the well of the sliding door and the table, just barely big enough to set the large tote in. We jerry-rigged the shower curtain in a sort of vertical cylinder with little carabiners and string hanging from the ceiling, and with the bottom of the curtain nestled into the tote bin to catch the shower water. I shivered as I got undressed and stepped inside, with a kettle of warm water sitting on the table next to me. It was constrained and awkward, but I slowly poured the kettle over my head, soaped up, and then rinsed off bit by bit, trying to pour with one hand while pushing soap off with the other, tears dripping down my cheeks as I tried not to splash water outside my silly little curtain tube. Warm and dry, in clean clothes, I felt a little better. A little more able to sit with these feelings. I was beginning to accept that even though we had designed our lives to have all the things we thought we needed to feel filled up, I felt spent, empty, and brittle. All the things we had prioritized, freedom to do whatever we want, no responsibilities, all the climbing and skiing our hearts desired, they weren't leading me to a version of myself that I liked. At that exact moment, sitting in the yellow light of our van, wet hair, curled in my pajamas, I maybe couldn't conceptualize all of this at once. But I did know that I needed a break. Yes, A break from our whole life, which was essentially a break. The next week, I flew home for a month to stay with my parents and think a little, and take some space to figure out what I needed. My month in a house led me pretty quickly to advocate for full-time house living, and Nick mostly agreed with me, or at least was willing to compromise to make our lives something that made me less actively miserable. We spent a couple more months on the road as we weighed the pros and cons of different towns to move to. And mostly due to an affordable sublet from a friend, we settled on moving to Bozeman, where we parked the van in our new backyard. Of course, no matter where you go, you take yourself with you, and everything wasn't fixed just because I had a plumbed bathroom again. Nick and I had some bad relationship habits to work through, and our lives still revolved around outdoor sports, probably more than they should. But space and stability helped. And the things that felt like insurmountable weights on the road faded back a little as I was able to make room in my life for more. More people, more loves, support systems, all of it. When people ask me if I ever miss living in a van, I say absolutely not. But two things can be true. I wouldn't change that adventure. I don't regret that we did it. We had some amazing times. I loved how simple things often felt, and I loved seeing new places. But I think it's so easy for our culture to idealize outdoor sports as being a complete focus of our lives, being all we need. And the time we spent living on the road really taught me that for me, that's far from the truth. I do best when I live surrounded by friends and family who can all fulfill different needs. And depending on a single person to support all of them, even if it's someone you really love, can be destructive. Our relationship managed to survive a year and a half on the road, but just barely. Constantly chasing the perfect ski day leaves me constantly feeling like I'm falling short, and much of the time I'm happier reading a book at home or having dinner with friends than trying to get my vertical in. It made me realize that I was searching for meaning in the wrong places, and that my minimalist ideas of what I needed to be happy, or what I thought I needed, what I think outdoor culture often tells us we need, were far from the truth. We still have our van, and it's a blast to spend a week in, allowing us to travel affordably and have transportation when we fly down to the lower 48 from Alaska, where we live now, in a house in our hometown of Girdwood. I'm older now, and maybe a little wiser, but I still catch myself sometimes searching for fulfillment by filling up my time with skiing, sometimes as a way to hide from life's heavier moments. Thankfully, I still love to ski, but I also love to do other things, silly things, things that no one thinks are particularly rad, but that make me feel like myself. And I'm working on accepting that, with all its ups and downs. My name is Gabby Markle, and this is my short.
Thanks to Sarah and Gabby for sharing your stories with us. Our stories come from friends of friends, and from you, our community. If you have a compelling idea for a guest or story lead, please give us a shout. You can email us at editor@ducktapethembeer.com. Thanks to the folks who have recently become Diaries Plus members and those of you who continue to support. This is the difference between the show being here and not. Find out. We've been dropping some extra information about what's going on behind the scenes to Diaries Plus members. So if you want to know a little bit more and support the show in the process, join us. If you need another way to help, because we get it, not everyone can afford it, please drop us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps others find the show. Give us a good review if you like us. Maybe don't if you don't like us, but hopefully you're here listening to these credits so you like us. Music today from Lon Grames, Phantom Sun, Joya, Dama Sue, Judah Pekka, Lena, Graham Barton, Memory Palace, and Brendan O'Connell. The tracks are courtesy of the Artists or Track Club. Jacob Bain and Denise Cotto composed our theme song. You can find the artists at our website, dirtbagdiaries.com. This episode was produced by Becca Cahal and Skylar Perwitz. Jake Wheeler keeps us social. Becca is our executive producer. I'm Fitz Cahal, and you've been listening to the Dirtbag Diaries. Thanks for tuning in.